Nick Khan is the new name in WWE who has quickly become one of the most controversial figures in the company in less than a year. He changed the outlook the company had and helped the process to release more stars than anyone could have thought. The news reports have connected Khan to most of the unpopular changes as well as the releases of top talent. As a result, without knowing much about him, he became one of the most hated figures in wrestling. Yet it's important to know more about the figures who have become so key in wrestling. This is Wrestling Up, and let's take a look at everything we need to know about Nick Khan. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. For a while, it's been known WWE was unhappy with NXT losing to Dynamite. Rumors came out that NXT was no longer going to be about indie stars, who were brought in from the outside. It was also stated that stars are no longer going to be the focus if they are short, as they will be focusing on larger talent. On top of that, the power would be taken out of the hands of the father of NXT, Triple H. Instead, the show would be produced by Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard. One of the major forces behind this change was Nick Khan. In his interview with Ariel Helwani, Khan revealed the changes were coming after Raw, along with the new logo for NXT as well as the theme song. When talking about AEW, WWE has never been open about acknowledging them. Instead, they have refused to consider the company as competition. Given that over the years AEW has only grown and signed superstars WWE released, this has resulted in WWE weakening their position. According to Meltzer, Nick Khan was warned about AEW by someone in the company and told how WWE and authority figures would tell him they were not a threat and were not supposed to be considered as competition. Khan was reportedly told that everyone would tell him that AEW did not exist as competition, but unless WWE did something fast, then AEW would soon catch up with them. With that warning taken into consideration, it was hoped that Khan would change the way they approached the industry. Instead, Khan talked about WWE's policy of how to deal with AEW. I think the way we always look at these situations, it's sort of like a horse race where the horse has blinders on. We're looking straight ahead at our lane and making sure that we stay in the front of the pack. At the same time, everything is our competition. Someone had a line a couple of weeks ago that we all chuckled at and agreed with. Sleep is our competition, right? If it was up to us, people could be up 24 hours a day watching content from different content providers, hopefully including ours. So we don't look at any organization particularly as competition, yet we see everything as competitive with what we're trying to do in terms of eyeballs. Nick Khan may be working in the biggest wrestling company, but he is not from the world of pro wrestling. He was the co-head of TV at the Creative Artist Agency. Before that, he was an attorney and went into international creative management when he launched the sports media department. In CAA, Khan came in contact with WWE, representing them, as well as other broadcasters. He helped WWE negotiate deals worth billions. Thus, when WWE was in need of something new, they signed Khan to make changes. He is the one responsible for WWE's deal with Fox, and thus impressed the authority figures in the company. In the modern day of wrestling, one of the major problems is the oversaturation of content. There are multiple hours being put up by many promotions on a weekly basis. From WWE alone, there's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, 205 Live, as well as NXT UK. From AEW, there's Dynamite, Dark Elevation, and Rampage. From New Japan, there's Strong, then there's Impact Wrestling, and so on and so forth. On top of that, Raw has become one of the most repetitive and boring shows. Ever since the program became 3 hours long, the quality has gone down. There's no signal of things getting better, but going by what Nick Khan said in his interview, he does not see an issue. The third hour of the show is worth tens of millions of dollars a year. Khan went on to exaggerate, saying that left up to him, Raw would be longer. From my point of view, Raw would benefit from being 4 hours, so we would get paid more money, and SmackDown would be 8. But I understand that our creative folks, as amazing as they are, there is only so much great content they can do on a weekly basis, so I'm good with the 3 and 2 hour system. system. Khan's obvious blindness to the major issues faced by fans trying to watch WWE makes it clear he cares only about one thing for the company: how much money they make. Ever since Khan came to WWE with the pandemic, high-profile stars like Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt have been let go, something that has shocked fans. The man being blamed is Nick Khan. Still, according to him, he is not alone to blame for the releases. There's a collective of us, and keep in mind, in WWE there's one boss, that's Vince, as we all know. So between Bruce Prichard, who oversees the entire creative process, between Kevin Dunn, who oversees all of our production, between Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, all are involved in these decisions, with ultimately Vince making the final decision on everything. Khan went on to say what WWE looked at when releasing stars was whether they could move the needle. We live in the present, we live in the future. We don't live in the past. So when people leave and they move on in their life and their careers, that's good for us. For us, it's what works for us and our product at that moment in time, and again, what's going to work down the road. And largely in part, the existing roster is based on that. His excuses seemed like he did not care about the people they were hiring, and it was simply who they thought could bring in more money. He also said he did not mind taking the heat for the releases. Ever since WWE started to release stars every month, some speculated, talking about how this sort of behavior only made sense by a company when they were preparing to be sold. Khan revealed they were open for business if anyone credible calls. He said that if it meant there was a chance for sale, WWE would always consider it, though they were not selling at this moment. If you pitch us something and you're a credible company, we're going to hear the pitch. We're an entrepreneurial company that Vince McMahon and others have built over the last 35 years or so, and we always want to stay fresh and entrepreneurial. In our minds, when I say open for business, if somebody credible calls asking, hey, are you guys for sale? It's what's your offer? What are you thinking? Vince McMahon made sure WWE was not called a wrestling company. However, the whole strategy of the company appears to have changed. With Nick Khan, WWE appears to be focusing on hiring writers for the company who are not in the wrestling business. Instead of hiring people who are fans of wrestling, they have been hiring TV writers. That may not be the worst decision, but it is an issue when the people they hire don't know anything about wrestling. Such was the case with one writer, who was hired despite her lack of knowledge and called the former WWE champion Bobby Ashley. And these were things we did not know about Nick Khan. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.